Hello, welcome to Grow Roots. This is Shannon, and this is my June 2024 container garden tour. This is actually going to be my first ever solo video just on my containers, my pots that I have planted up in my backyard and my front yard. I used to include that with my just my backyard and front yard garden tours, but I feel like my backyard, front yard garden tours are just getting so long because I really like to be detailed. I like to go over every single plant, how it's doing, how it got there, what it's, what struggles I'm having. So my garden tours are getting fairly long, and I feel like I could completely separate the container garden tours because I know there's a whole other, group of people that really just container garden based on having small spaces or just a balcony. That, if you don't have a garden, you absolutely could still have a container garden. And so I think I might be separating those from here on out. Why don't you all let me know what you think about that? If you prefer the containers to be included in the garden tours, even though the garden tours are still long, or do you are you cool with just the containers garden being separated? So here we go. We're starting in my backyard because I haven't shown you any containers in June yet, and they're looking fantastic. So I'm going to start right over here in the corner of my backyard patio, and you can't even separate it necessarily from my garden, but in this container I have just a mix of different plants. And so I have some vinca. This is actually, I'll pop up the name of this vinca on the screen. This is a fabulous series of vinca. I have found them to be very tough and vigorous, and I really love them. And then I also have this pink verbena that I picked up from Callaway's. I was really looking for proven winners. It looks a lot like this actually, and I'll pop the name of that one that I was looking for on the screen, but it's kind of this ombre effect of pinks, and I absolutely love that. I wasn't looking for pink cashmere. To me, that one is just not bright enough. It's a different one, so I'll pop it on. But Callaway's had a really close version of it, so I picked this up, and then I quickly noticed that it is quite vigorous and roots everywhere. So this is one plant that I separated into a few different ones, and over here I don't have any active flowers quite on it. I need to deadhead this one, but love it. It's vigorous, it roots everywhere, and looks really good with this vinca. And then I also have a annual lantana. This is definitely an annual lantana. I'm going to treat it as such, but I absolutely love the lantana that has this hot pink, bright orange color. And so I've got all kinds of new blooms coming in. Here in Texas, when the heat begins, the lantana explodes. It is definitely a go-to for container gardening. Here in Texas, you have to choose, if you're going to plant an annual in a container, you have to make sure that it is heat tolerant. And this is actually a really good grouping of heat tolerant Texas tough annuals that can take full sun and the heat, and they do really well. So vinca, verbena, and lantana, and I love how that container is growing. It's awesome. So here I have another pretty Texas tough plant. It is blue agave. This one is I guess you could call it evergreen here in North Texas. There are some agave that don't survive, but I got this as a baby plant from a neighbor that lives in the community, and she has a big one growing, a few big ones growing, and it puts up babies, pups, I guess you call them. And so she let me come over, and she picked, got a pup for me, and I've been growing it for, I think this is its third summer, maybe it's second or third summer with me. It struggled a little bit because I covered this in mulch in the wintertime when we had this long freeze. I thought I needed to do that, but lesson learned, it did not like it and shed a couple of its outer leaves, but I've got all kinds of new growth happening. And be careful, like Chloe loves this to scratch on it. It's like a little scratching post for her, but she's also damaging it a little bit. I don't know if you can see all the cat fur right here because she comes and scratches herself like across this needle. It's so crazy. She doesn't appear to be bothered by it, but it's very, very sharp. So sometimes when I'm trying to get into the garden over there, it pokes me as well. But I really do love it. I love the color of that. So coming over to this pot, this is a strawberry planter that I got for free on Facebook Marketplace in the wintertime. I decided to turn it into an herb garden. This is kind of a test for me to see if that was something that would be cool. But yeah, it's working out pretty well. I did put a strawberry plant in the middle here, and it's first season. It was baby. Oh goodness, I see what's happening. I'm gonna tell you what this plant is in a second. But the strawberry plant is doing okay. It's just that it's its first season, and so it's not like fully established and growing quite yet. I have other strawberries in a different container that I'll show you that are doing much better. But one thing, I'm going to tell you what this is. This is peppermint. And I love it. It's such a great sensory plant, and that's kind of what this herb planter is as well. It's a great little sensory plant. My daycare kiddos love to run their hands through this and then smell their hands, and they go, ah, because it smells so good. It really does smell like peppermint, but peppermint is very, very aggressive. Y'all do not plant this in the landscape unless you want it forever in the landscape and to take over everything in the landscape. So I'm being very careful. It's got all kinds of runners here. I'm being very, very careful not to allow those runners to get into my garden. As a matter of fact, oh, look at this. Wow. Look at these runners from this peppermint. Ooh, boy. So yes, just be cautious when you're planting peppermint, even in a container. Make sure it's not getting into any cracks, crevices, or your garden, because you'll have it forever. This is also a mint, and it is apple mint. It has a different growing habit than the peppermint. The peppermint's definitely like trailing and sending out shoots to root, and the apple mint is much more upright growing. I think this is just very interesting, and I love it. It's got a really nice fresh smell. This apple mint would be like perfect to put into your iced tea or even hot tea. Like, it's just this really great kind of a fruity mint smell. It's really, really cool. And again, it has a different growth habit. It's more upright growing. So that's neat. I've enjoyed the different types of mints and seeing how different they are. But this peppermint, let me go back to that and talking about how aggressive it is. So it's planted in this little hole, but what it's done is it's sent up, I guess, shoots to grow into this thing right here. So I think that's very interesting. It's like expanding itself because this hole is obviously not big enough for it. So there's that. Okay, then I also have planted dill and fennel, and to be quite honest, I can't tell the difference. They're very, very similar. Ow! Chloe! This is Chloe, our garden cat. She is desperate for attention right now. And that hurt Chloe. She kind of stuck her claws in me. Okay, sorry about that. I can't tell the difference anymore. I used to have a tag, and the tag is gone, but for a little bit, this plant was eaten. And that's because we had 2 caterpillars, swallowtail caterpillars on these guys earlier in the season. And they are gone now. I hope that that means that they were done and they ended up, forming their chrysalis and becoming butterflies. But it's bouncing back from almost being decimated a little bit ago. This one even more so, because it was like 1 caterpillar each plant, because they're so tiny. So it's so interesting. And then this one was like, I don't have enough to eat over here, so it ended up coming over here. And so there were 2 caterpillars on this plant, and again, it's coming back. It's forming new growth on there, so that's fun. Let's see if I can show you the other side. Down here, I planted, this is, ouch, see, the blue agave just got me. This is tricolor sage, which is so, so beautiful. I absolutely love it. I would actually plant this in the landscape. It's not vigorous. It's just, it smells really good. It's absolutely beautiful. And my neighbor Aida has grown it before and tells me that it blooms purple blooms. So I'm gonna get more of that next year if I can and plant that in the landscape. It's absolutely beautiful. And then this right here is oregano. It's taking off too. It needs a bigger, much bigger spot than what I have to give. And this was either dill or fennel, and that's almost decimated as well. But there's oregano, and then I think that's it for that herb garden. Okay, so moving on to probably my favorite container of the year, or favorite container ever. Probably this is desert rose, my like prize plant. I absolutely love it. This time of year it is absolutely full of these they're so beautiful, these beautiful pink blooms with pink rims, and it's all over, like it's just bursting with blooms, and it's just the most amazing plant. This plant is not perennial here in North Texas. If you leave it out in the winter time, it will die. It doesn't take temperatures any lower than I think 40 degrees. And so I do overwinter it in my house, and I try to put it under a grow light. And it does okay. It definitely loves it here in the summertime. It loves the heat. It's very drought tolerant. So it's great for a container here in the heat, in full sun in North Texas, but you do have to bring it in the winter time. And I also have to make sure it's not bringing in, you know, pests and things like that. But let me show you the bottom of this. This is just so beautiful. Look. So yeah, this is my little grow ring. I need to get another landscape staple to staple that down. This is the drip ring to give it water. But the root system of the desert rose is called a caudex, and kind of like growing a bonsai, the goal is to get it like as bulbous and, you know, nice looking as possible. And this was actually a cutting that rooted. Long story short, I bought it at Lowe's. It was labeled as a diplodenia, and I, you know, took it home. It did so well that first season, and I realized, oh my gosh, this isn't diplodenia. This is desert rose. I'd never even heard of the plant before. And so I've grown it ever since. I think this is its third or fourth summer with me, and I'm also here to tell you that the desert rose community says that if you grow a desert rose from a cutting, then the caudex, that big bulbous caudex, is just not possible. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is not correct. Look at that. That bulbous caudex is amazing. You do have to repot it every 1 to 2 years, and then when you do that, you kind of lift up the root system, and I just did that. I made a video on it too, but I just did that this past fall, and that's what exposed this amazing caudex, which really, really surprised me. And it's so awesome. The other awesome thing about desert rose is, for me, every summer, it also produces seed pods, and they're really fun. They're interesting, very interesting looking things. I could maybe pop a picture on the screen for you, but in those little seed pods, obviously it grows seeds, and you can grow babies every year. So I will show you some of the baby desert rose plants that I have as well from this wonderful guy that I probably paid, I think I paid like $6 for the quote unquote diplodenia, and now it's turned into this amazing desert rose plant that I've also been able to grow babies from. But this guy is just one of my favorites. It's absolutely beautiful. Everyone in North Texas should have one if you are willing to overwinter it. Coming over here, I have a summer carnival hibiscus, and it's looking absolutely beautiful in this morning sunlight that's peering over it. I do realize this guy is getting eaten. We just have such a hard time with grasshoppers, especially this year, and the grasshoppers will go to rose mallow, hardy hibiscus before they go to anything else. And that, let me see if I can find any on it this morning to kind of, oh well, I can't find any on it right now, but they're definitely around. However, this is a funny story. I bought this last October as a birthday gift to myself because I absolutely love this foliage. Like, there's a pink hue to it. It's just so beautiful. I've never seen it bloom. It did not have blooms when I bought it in October. And when I planted it, it was not a happy camper in October, and it had transplant shock, defoliated. I thought I had lost it. And this spring, you know, everybody was telling me it's going to come back, it's going to come back. I left it and it didn't come back. And, you know, my other two hardy hibiscus were springing to life. Everything was springing to life. This guy was not. So I ended up pulling it out of the landscape, putting it in a pot just in case it was still alive. And sure enough, like, it started, I think, let's see, maybe May. The very beginning of May, I think, is when it started shooting up for me, or maybe even mid-May, because I don't even think you guys got this in the last backyard garden tour. So here it is, and it's coming up quickly. And look at all this new growth. So when I put it in this container, I thought it was dead. And so I planted Zinnia seedlings in this just in case. And then I also planted some dianthus seedlings in there that I had going on. And the Zinnia seedlings were growing very, very, very large. So this past week, I took them out because they were just getting too well rooted in here. It was going to take away from, you know, the water needs and the nutrition needs of this plant. So I took those away. I might still take the dianthus out, but I left the dianthus there just because they're not overcrowding anything. They're going to be very small for a little while. So they're going to stay for now. I may move them. And yeah, so I'm really happy that this plant did survive. Y'all were right. I had so many of you that said, just be patient. This is the last plant to come to life. But I had other hardy hibiscus that were already like fully foliated, and I really thought that this one, you know, was not going to make it, but it did. And you guys were right. Thank you so much. Over here, I have my strawberry planter. So these strawberries, mostly, I have two in here that are on their third summer, I think. And then I have some new ones dotted in here as well. And then I think I must have had one right here that died. Yeah. Oh no, it just is struggling. Okay, this is one of the newer ones this year, and it is kind of struggling, but new growth, so that's a good thing. I wonder what happened there. But they're giving me strawberries. They're doing pretty good. And then right here in the middle there was nothing. So this is my little tiny balloon flower. Really, really great perennial plant. It was flowering for me, but I cut off the blooms, so I'm letting that flush back out, hoping for new blooms there. But I picked them up, this one up from Callaway's for, I think it was like $3.50, which is great. They're kind of hard to grow as seedlings, and so to get a seedling that was fairly well established and already flowering for me for $3.50, that was such a great deal. And then I didn't know where to put it, so I popped it in the middle of my strawberries because, yeah, blue and red I think go really well together. So that's that planter for you. And then coming along here is my rosemary that at one point it was a topiary shape, and I just haven't I haven't had a chance to go and trim this and make it into that ball sphere that I really, really like. But this is rosemary. By the way, I do not have this hooked up to drip irrigation. It does not like a whole lot of water, and so it's just, I did just water it. It needs water periodically, but not like my other containers do, so it's not hooked up. And then this one is all full of zinnias. So these zinnias are, I think they're called double giant yellow, double yellow. Anyway, I'll pop the name of it on the screen, but these were seeds that I picked up inexpensively and just put those. So these will all be yellow zinnias. And then I have some vinca seedlings as well. I just popped some vinca seeds in here. I think this one is Heat Wave Apricot, if I'm not mistaken. Apricot Heat Wave from Baker's Creek. Really, really, I love the color of these. They're so, so cute. They do take a while to get going, but once it's hot, they get going and they do pretty well. Right here in this container is actually a crepe myrtle, but this crepe myrtle was a baby from my neighbor's crepe myrtle. I think it seeded myself on the other side in my yard, and I thought, well, let's see if I can get this guy growing. And this was last year, and it has done so well in a container. So that's super fun. I don't know if I'm going to keep it or end up giving it away. I just kind of did this as an experiment to see if I could grow it in a pot from a seedling. Otherwise, I would have just pulled it because I didn't want it to grow in that area, and it would have just died. So I thought, well, let me pot it up and see if it survives, and it did, and it's so pretty. The interesting thing is, I think it's a seedling from, my neighbor's white crepe myrtle. However, it gave me a couple of flowers last year, and they were purple, which is weird. And we don't have a purple crepe myrtle in our area until about 5 houses down. So that's interesting. I don't know how crepe myrtles work. Maybe it was cross-pollination, and this really was it was the seed from my neighbor's white one, but because of cross-pollination from the purple one, this one was purple. I don't know how it works. If y'all know, you can comment, please. I'd love to know. It's also interesting how the genetics of plants works, but I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not, trained in all of that or schooled in it. So, but I think it's going to be purple. We'll see. And then I have a repeat from the other planter before. So this one is lantana and pink verbena and vinca that I have here. So really, I love this combination. And when I planted them, they looked very, very bare. The lantana was super, super, super small. It was one of those really tiny seedling ones, $3.50, I think, from Callaway's. And so was the verbena. Again, I split the verbena because it was rooting. I saw that like its little stems were rooted everywhere, so I cut them where the roots were and put it all around the planter. So my hope is the verbena will trail. But and then there's vinca dotted throughout. So I just love it. I love this color of lantana so much. It's so beautiful. Okay, so coming over here, this is kind of my my seedling area, or like rehabilitation area, my rehabilitation table. There we go. So I told y'all in my backyard garden tour for June that I had trouble with my coreopsis. I would like pull on the stems to deadhead them, and then the entire stem that's down into the ground would pull off. And I thought, well, I wonder if they will reroot themselves. So I did the experiment. I had 2 of them that this happened to on the same deadheading experience. And so I popped them in the ground and kept them watered, and I wanted to see what would happen. So this is the old growth. This is the old stem that I popped into the ground, and obviously it died off, but keep it well watered and then you will see new growth. It's so awesome. So now it's flowering for me. It's a brand new plant. I'm sure there's roots in there because something's got to support this new growth. And that's just really cool. So you can propagate coreopsis successfully and fairly easily, y'all. Pretty easily. Just make sure that you give it, some love and some water. And so I've got another one right here. This is the old stem that didn't completely die off. It's dead right here. So I could go in and cut that again. But I'm getting a new bloom from this one as well. Yeah, so that's really neat. I can, plop those in another area of the landscape if I want to. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet. It was just an experiment to see if they would grow, and now I don't know where I'm going to put them, to be honest. Maybe in another container, because containers with perennials is actually a really great idea, because then they stay there each year and you don't have to worry about buying new annuals, right? So here is my area of desert rose seedlings. So I just talked to y'all about my desert rose plant. They produce seed pods. I did do a video last year about harvesting those seed pods, collecting those seeds. So I'll pop the link on the screen above for you guys to watch that video if you'd like. And then I start growing the seedlings in January, February, when I start growing my other, seedlings indoors. And well, did I do that this? Yes, I did. I started growing them indoors this year, but they do need like a humidity dome to get going for sure. And they do need like bright sun, so put them in a window if you can. So this is a seedling actually from last year. So almost over a year ago, January, February is when this guy was planted. So this guy's 1 year old. I feel like he's a little small for being 1 year old, but he was out in the heat of last summer, which was crazy, crazy heat, and he struggled a little bit, but now he's bouncing back and lots of new growth. And then look what's happening here. So we're already getting like our bulbous caudex because it's grown from a seed. So I do expect if I can keep this guy alive this summer through the heat, then this guy's caudex is going to be even bigger than my other desert rose. So I'm really, really excited about this, and I'm kind of hoping, since it's a year old, that it will give me blooms this year, but so far, not so much. However, I have tons of growth on it, and it's absolutely beautiful, so really excited about that one. And then this year, I have 2 seedlings that survived out of about, what did I plant? 9 of them. So 2 out of 9 germination rate for me. They don't germinate like fabulously for me, but I was able to get these 2 to survive, and they're doing really well as well. So this is what it looks like when they're just a couple months old and just getting going. This one's interesting. I feel like it's a twin, or no, because I planted 1 seed per seed, per packet or whatever you want to call it, 1 seed per pod. So this is 1 seed that seemed to have been 2 seedlings coming up together. And so you can see this one is kind of, it's 2 different seedlings in one, like a twin, like a conjoined twin. But that's really exciting, super fun. And I'm really, I'm excited just to have these 2 growing from about 9 seeds that I planted earlier this season. Okay, so moving on, I wanted to show you this Ferris wheel that I have that is just the cutest little thing. It has all of these individual little planters, and they are potted up with some succulents at the moment. So each little planter is so tiny that I've learned, this is I think my 3rd year growing things in these containers, I have learned that you really need something that can stay dry for a long time, because these little tiny, I think they might be 4-inch containers, they don't hold a lot of water for very long, so annuals don't really work there, even like the most drought tolerant. So last year I tried succulents and they worked really well, except they were not cold hardy succulents, and so they died over the winter time. And this year I decided, okay, so I know the succulents work, it's just I need something that will survive our winter. So I decided on hens and chicks. I think another name for these is sempervivum, if I'm not mistaken. But hens and chicks, this is one type that I got. It's Ruby Hearts Hens and Chicks. And just absolutely beautiful coloration on this one, like greenish, grayish color, and then I guess purplish, reddish. And you can see its little baby. Hens and chicks will do that. They just pop out their little pups, I think is what they're called. So pretty. I love these so much. And let me look at the tag. I think they're hardy down to zone 3 or something. Yeah, they're hardy down to zone 3. Cold hardy to -40, -30 degrees. It's crazy. Full sun. Excellent to use in rock gardens, which is why they kind of work really well here as well. And so I love them. They're actually working out really well. They're a little bit dry at the moment, but it's going to rain this afternoon, and so they will be just fine. I'm not really supplementing them with water at the moment because we have had so much rain. So there's a different type there. This one is called Pacific Blue Ice Hens and Chicks, And let me see if they're the same. Let's see. Yeah, hardy down to zone 3. So super, super cute. I love these guys so much. There's one of the bigger ones. And I basically picked up just 2 containers. I picked up a big container of the, ooh, I'm getting distracted by a black swallowtail butterfly. Let's see if I could get him really quick. Oh, he's out in the forest area. Sorry, I was distracted by butterflies. But I got a really big container of ruby hearts, and then I split it up into, I think this guy split into 4 containers almost. And then this one, Pacific Blue, I split into 3. Because this one at the very bottom is, there's a ruby heart and a Pacific Blue in there. So that's a mixed container there. But really, really happy with that and love this planter. I got it at Callaway's, by the way, and it was, I think, a rusted color, and I actually I spray painted it this color. So love, love, love it. Over here, I have a couple containers over here, and this one is a Limelight Hydrangea, and this was one of my Limelight Hydrangea babies that I propagated just last year. So this is only its 2nd growing season, and it's huge. Look at that. It's starting to bloom, and this I think is the biggest bloom here, and it's just doing really well. This is it is almost a full sun area, but in the afternoon it gets shade, and so and in the morning it kind of gets shade from these guys. So it may just barely be a full sun location, and I have found that the Limelight Hydrangeas actually do really, really well in this particular spot. So I'm keeping it. And then one thing that I wanted to show y'all, if you are interested in tree forming a Limelight Hydrangea, I wanted to show you how you could go about doing that from a baby Limelight Hydrangea plant. Because this year, if you notice, I have one particular branch that is really, really, really tall, and it starts down here and it goes all the way up, and it's straight up and down, and it's actually the tallest one that I've had so far. And if I wanted to tree form this Limelight Hydrangea, I could do that, and it would be a really, really beautiful specimen. I don't know how tall that is, but it's at least 2 feet tall, probably maybe almost 3 feet tall. And what I would need to do if I decided to tree form this, which I'm undecided, I would have to, at this point in the season, I would cut all of this off. All of this that I'm holding, plus all of the other little scragglies, and I would only keep one branch, and it's that one right there. So I would let this one grow this whole season, and I would allow that to flower. And then if it tried to put out like other shoots from the nodes, I would cut those off. I would just keep the leaves and the blooms this year, and then, you know, it will try to put up shoots in here to try and grow, you know, into a bush, but you just kind of take those out when you see them grow. And this thing next season, after winter hits, after it defoliates, you keep this branch. Obviously you could stake it if it's not super sturdy, and then you're going to see next year it's going to try to put out new growth at all of these nodes. So almost every single one of these nodes is going to try to grow new stems, new branches next year to be super, super full like a bush. But again, you would trim that back. So like if it tried to grow some branches here, I would just pluck them before they even could grow. Same thing here. Same thing here. You get my drift. And the only branches that I would keep next year would be here. I have found, actually, I only think it'll try and put on 2 branches. It might try to put on 4 branches here. If that's the case, then I would keep all 4 branches from this node at the very, very top. And that's all I would keep next year when it starts growing. If it only tries to go 2 branches up here, then I would take another 2. You see how they're alternating sides? then I would try to take these 2 branches that grew as well and only keep 4 branches for next year's growth. And that would basically form the shape of the tree. It would be 4 branches, you know, coming out, and then next year's growth, so the 3rd season's growth, would be the time where you would actually get like the tree type of shape. And then every year after that, it would just get bigger and bigger and bigger. But I just wanted to show y'all, if you are interested in tree forming yourself, because they are quite expensive when you buy them that way. You can do it yourself if you find the right branch from a baby Limelight Hydrangea, but basically you got to cut all that off and then keep one, just one branch for an entire season. So it'll be 1 branch for you to enjoy for 1 season. And then the next season, you're only gonna have 4 branches to enjoy, and so on and so forth. So just a little side note on that. Let me know if you have questions there. But I'm enjoying it this way, and I think I am going to keep it this way because I do already have a tree formed hydrangea in the front. So moving on to this container, it is definitely kind of a hodgepodge of a bunch of things. So let me tell you. So the first and most obvious is that I have planted some zinnia seedlings here. The type of zinnia seedling that is in here, I couldn't tell you because it all just kind of, I don't remember what I planted where, to be honest, but it looks like they're going to be pink. Most likely they all look like they're going to be pink, and they're just starting to bloom. So those are doing good. I have another seedling in here, and it's this right here, and it's some type of flower because that's what I plant. But I don't remember what it is, and I have a few of these growing, like one right there and one there's a couple right here, but we'll see when that starts blooming, I guess, whatever that is. And then this, what you see, is actually a currently propagating Little Lime Hydrangea. So what I do in this container, because it seems to be so successful for me each year, is when I go to prune my Limelight Hydrangea and also my Little Lime Hydrangea each year, I harden the cuttings off, just the branches that have gone dormant. I harden them off for a couple weeks, and then I stick them in soil. And so this has, I think, 10 different Little Lime branches in it this year, since my big Limelight died. And anyway, so the only real cuttings that I had was my Little Lime. And I thought, okay, great, let's see if I can propagate the Little Lime. And sure enough, 2 out of 10 are successful so far. So this one, you can see this is a seedling, but this is attached to this, what appears to be a dead stick, but it is not. It is a Little Lime. So it's forming roots under there, because I know this because it's sending out leaves to keep it alive. So this guy I'm just gonna leave it alone and try to keep it moist, but not too moist, and throughout the summer anyway, and see how that goes. So there's one potential baby Little Lime, and then this one's doing even better than the other one that I just showed you. Let's see where the stick even was. Okay, here's the dead stick right here, and this is the new growth. That's so this one's really got some kind of root systems going on here. So it's loving life, and I'll just let that grow, and by the end of the season the roots should be strong enough for me to separate it and then put it into a pot, which is exactly what happened last year. So last year, this Limelight was growing in here, just like you see these two. And so it's quite a successful operation. 2 out of 10 propagated. I think that's not bad. I'm totally cool with those odds. And that's about what I had last year as well. So really neat way to propagate. And for whatever reason, this container propagates them well. This location, this container, I don't know. I'm not going to mess things up by doing it any different from now on. So over here is, this is so funny. This is just basically a container that I had laying around, and it just so happened that I had some seeds from Pentomix coleus that reseeded themselves. Ooh, this guy needs a little bit of water, I think. It's a little bit wilted. But this is Pentomix coleus, and this is just a volunteer in that container, so I decided to let those two grow, and they're super cute. I have mosquitoes biting me, even though I have bug spray on. I have another container right here, and again, these are, I think these are called double purple something. They were inexpensive Zinnia seeds that I picked up probably from Home Depot, maybe, I think. And they were like, no, they were Walmart. They were $1.95 for these pink ones. So quite happy with those. These used to be, I planted these where my summer carnival hibiscus was when I thought it was dead. And so yeah, then I had to pull these out of the summer carnival hibiscus because I didn't want the roots from these zinnias to overtake the summer carnival hibiscus. I really want to give that hibiscus as much chance as possible to survive the season since it's new and it didn't do so well last season. So I pulled these up and they were very, very, very well rooted already. And then I put them in this pot. I put them in this part shade location specifically because I knew that since they were flowering and I was uprooting them and transplanting them, they were not going to love me very well and they were going to try to die on me. So I wanted to give them the best chance possible. I staked them so they didn't wilt too bad, and then I'm leaving them in this part sun location so that they don't get too overwhelmed. And they're doing really, really well so far. Moving on to my next container, which is right here. Here I have foxtail ferns that are planted. These are, I think they're hardy down to like zone 8B/9. And some people are able to overwinter these here in North Texas, but I got these last year. They actually used to be in some hanging planters, and I decided to overwinter them to make sure that they survived, and they did. Just so that you know, if you take these inside, they are quite messy because they'll defoliate a little bit, and when they shed all of these little bitty things all over, and if they're in the house, it's very messy. Just FYI, because I had this experience myself. But anyway, the foxtail ferns, they're doing really, really well. There's lots of new growth, like that's new growth, and I'm not going to overwinter this. I'm going to see if I can get it to survive. The chances are not great because it's also in a container, which makes it like even colder for it, but we'll just have to see. And then I have just a tricolor sweet potato vine that's popped in here that's doing pretty well. And I also have a Confederate star jasmine that's growing right here, and I have it kind of winding up this pole for now. So last year this guy got to be this tall. I have little wires that make it kind of a crisscross pattern, if you can see. So last year that's how tall it came, and we'll just have to see how tall the new growth is going to be this year, because this vine dies off in the wintertime for me. So that's what's in that container over there. Let me come on over and show you what's over here. So here is my Monstera deliciosa. I actually have two of them here. They have gotten too big for my house. So at the end of this season, I'm probably going maybe to try to sell it or give this to a really close friend who wants it. I don't know yet, but I don't have, like, Monstera deliciosa needs a lot of light, and I don't have room in my house for the portion of my house that receives the type of light that it would desire. So anyway, it's absolutely beautiful out here. And then this is another one. This was in my bathroom, and it's gotten too big for the bathroom space, and so there you go. I also wanted to show you, this is kind of my rehabilitation center for shade plants, because this is a shade environment right here. But these are hydrangeas, 3 different hydrangeas and the summer variety that I have propagated from a hydrangea hedge that I have on the side of my house. So I basically just stuck some branches in the soil. I secured it with a landscape staple and grew it all last season. And then this season, kind of toward mid-spring, I cut that off from the main plant, and they were very well rooted. And I have my little hydrangea plants. So you can see these guys are struggling, or coming off of struggling with chlorosis, because the mother plant that they were in was struggling with chlorosis as well. So I'm kind of, you know, treating these guys, but they're doing pretty good. But I have 3 baby hydrangea plants here, and then I have 2 burgundy glow ajuga that I haven't figured out where to put these yet. So they're just kind of here in a holding cell until I figure out what to do with them. I do have 3 hanging planters that I wanted to show you. They all are the same. They are filled with impatiens, and then I also planted impatiens in the sides with the hopes that they would all like fill in, but it's not happened quite yet, and I don't know if it's going to for this season. We will have to see. See if the lighting gets better for ya so that you can see they're not filling in as I had hoped. And so we'll just have to see how they do, but I do think they bring a beautiful pop of color in the shade, and I love impatiens for that reason. So it's super, super pretty. I am happy with them. And to close out my container garden tour for my backyard, I have a whole container garden full of hostas, and they are various varieties. I actually got these for $1 at Callaway's, probably around July or August of last year, when it was really, really hot, and I think Callaway's had a bunch of hostas that kind of got fried, and so they put them out for $1 each, and they were in really, like, they were in 1-gallon containers, maybe 2-gallon containers. They were very, very large already, and they were a little bit fried, but I knew that they would come back. I knew they weren't gone, and most of them picked up some new growth. As soon as I put them in the shade at my house and planted them in these containers, they started growing new growth, and they are just absolutely beautiful. So I'll start with over here. Yes, this one's been eaten a little bit, probably by snails and slugs. That's okay. It's already flowered for me, and it's forming some seed pods there. It's not focusing. This is an Elegans Blue hosta. So that one is Elegans Blue. This one is Elabroic hosta. Really pretty. I love the edges on that one. This one is similar to that, but this is actually Proven Winners, and it is the Shadowland Woo La La. It is not focusing. And then this one is Shadowland Diamond Lake, also from Proven Winners. So it was such a score for me to get them for $1 a piece. I'm so thrilled about that. And yeah, that's what I have growing in containers here. I'm sorry for this kind of mess. It's just, this is where I'm keeping my extra terracotta pots at the moment due to lack of storage. But there you have it. All right, so thank you for joining me in my first ever container garden tour. Like I said at the beginning, I used to include the containers into my front and back garden tours, but they're just getting so long that I figured I would just separate them into their own tour. I do have containers in my front yard as well, but they were already included in the June front garden tour, so go ahead and check out that video if you want to see my what my front yard containers look like in the month of June. But here are my backyard containers in the month of June, and they're just getting started. It's going to get even more spectacular, I'm sure. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments that you liked it. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope each and every one of you has a fantastic day. Bye-bye, everybody.